Hello again, students. So in this video, as part 2, I will talk about the classify and the categorize part, and then I will move on with the grammar point. Okay. So as I said before, I was talking about the inventions and how these inventions change our lives in or actually daily lives. So we are actually talking about with these situations. So we forgot one thing actually. How these inventions actually came today. I mean, who invented these inventions? We are using lots of famous, lots of important, and lots of actually good inventions every day. So in this actually small paragraph, we will just read and learn just actually 6 or 7 famous inventions and actually who invented these inventions together. So this part is actually called, as I said, learn how to classify and categorize. Okay, so let's read together. I hope you are ready, by the way. Just listen. When actually you feel that you cannot follow, you can pause the video and just take a deep breath and just come back. Okay, so now when we classify and categorize, we group things that are similar. When you read, put the items you read about into groups. The items in each group should be similar in some way. This will help you to remember them later. So when you are reading a paragraph or a text, you actually put the specific things into the groups. There are lots of different groups, as I said before. But in these units, we just actually talk about the inventions. Okay, we can put the inventions like when actually did they invent this invention. We can actually put these things into the different groups. Okay, so let's read the paragraph and organize the inventions into 2 groups. Okay, after we read this part, we have actually 2 groups. The first one is invention in 1800s and inventions in the 1900s. Okay, so let's read together. And while I am reading, please, after me, pause the video and read by yourself, and then just continue. Okay, this is important because if you read by yourself, you can go actually deeper and deeper, and you can understand better the paragraph. Okay, so the 1800s were a very busy time for inventors. So inventor is a person who invent the invention. Okay. For example, we will learn now, just don't worry. And it says one important invention was the sewing machine, which made it easier to make clothing. You know what is clothing, right? We actually using every day. So Thomas Edison, I hope you know Thomas Edison very well. He actually invented the electric light bulb, and Alexander Graham Bell, right, invented the telephone. You are using every day to actually talk with your family, talk to your friends, or anyone actually you want. So these 3 important inventions are very famous, and as I said, very important inventions for the people. They actually make life easier. They actually make people's life easier to live. Okay, and let's just move on. Inventing, actually, I mean, the people were still trying to find something, trying to find an invention for the people, for actually themselves. So inventing continued in the 1900s. The Wright brothers invented the airplane. So they are actually the brothers who invented the airplane. And John Logie Baird invented the television. You are watching every day. You have lots of different TV series. When you are actually feel bored, you can just actually watch television, right? And the last thing, actually, the cell phone was invented by Martin Cooper. Cell phone and telephone is actually different. You know the difference, right? The cell phone is actually something that you are actually putting in your pocket and you just reach it every time. So this is the difference. It's more actually technological, right? So Martin Cooper. So now in this part tells us to put these inventions into the groups. So we have actually 80-100 groups and 90-100 groups. The answers actually is clear. You can just find the answers very clearly. We have two different paragraphs and the answers are written. So let's just look at together. So for the first part, the inventions in the 80-100s. So let's just check out the first part. So one important invention was the sewing machine. So this was actually the first invention which made it easier to make clothing. So we can write, of course, sewing machine. And let's just move on. And it actually says Thomas Edison, the person who invented this thing. So the electric light bulb. Okay. So the second thing is we can just write light bulb. But which one? The electric. Okay. And the last thing for this actually part, we can just write Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, right? So we can just write actually telephone. So these actually for the 80-100s part. So we have the second part and it is actually 90-100s part. So let's just check out what these people invented in that time. Okay. So it says the inventing continued in the 90-100s. The people were still trying to find different things, right? And the Wright brothers, they invented the airplane. It's very important and famous invention for the people. So we can just actually write airplane here, right? And John Logie Baird invented the television. You are watching every day. And the person who invented this invention is John Logie, okay? So you can just actually write television. And the last invention is the cell phone. And who invented the cell phone? Yes, you all know this. It's actually, yes, the Martin Cooper, of course. You can just write cell phone. Okay, these actually inventions you should know, and also you should know who invented these inventions is very important because these things you are using every day, okay? And these actually, as I said before, the target vocabulary of the unit 13. So it's very important to know all of these things, and also it's also important who invented these things. I mean, you should know this. Okay, so now I will just move on with the grammar part, and then we will just move on with the workbook again. So now I want you to open page 133. So now we have a grammar part. First we will listen to the song, a kind of small song and funny, and then I will just go on with to and either. So please listen and try to sing together, okay? You can pause the video, you can actually check the sentences and words, and then we will move on.
Page 133, grammar in use.
On the seesaw.
Listen and sing along. On the seesaw.
Harry and Jay are playing on the seesaw. Harry's having fun and Jay is too. Up and down, down and up. Oh no! Harry falls off and Jay does too. Harry and Jay are back on the seesaw. Harry
Okay, so it's a short and funny song. I mean, this song helps us to understand the grammar point here. Okay, so actually I want to read the sentences in the song because I want you to actually see the grammar point for this unit. Okay, so it say Harry and Jay are playing on a seesaw. So they are playing on a seesaw, right? And Harry is having fun and Jay is too. So too is here actually means the same thing for the J. We actually understand that Harry is having fun. He is happy, right? He is happy, and the sentence says that the J is too. So we can understand that too is actually the same thing for the J as well. So J is actually having fun too. He is happy as well. He is happy too. Okay. So up and down, down and up. Oh no. Harry falls off and Jay does too. So it says Harry falls off. We can understand that he is actually falling off, and Jay does too. The same thing for the J as well. The same thing. Okay. For example, I can give another example in order to understand better. For example, John is playing football. Martin too. You can use these actually short, let's say short way to say the same thing for the different person. Okay, and Harry and Jay are back on the seesaw. Harry is careful and Jay is too. So we actually learning that Harry is careful and Jay is too. Okay, the same thing for the J as well. And Harry doesn't fall off and Jay doesn't either. We have a different point here, either. The either part is actually, we are using either for the negative meaning, okay? So we actually learned that Harry doesn't fall off, okay? It's the negative meaning, and Jay doesn't either. So the sentence is negative, the meaning is negative, but the way we use it is same. Again, we can understand that the same thing actually is happening to Jay. Okay, the same thing. So Harry likes the seesaw and Jay does too. So we understand that Harry likes the seesaw, and the same thing for the J. Jay does too. I mean, you can say Harry likes the seesaw, full stop, and Jay likes the seesaw, full stop. We are combining two sentences into one sentence by actually using too. It's actually a short way to say the same thing for the different person. Not yourself, but different person. So, so now we have, as I said, the grammar part. Okay. So this is very important. So I want you to listen. If you have any question or any missing points, please pause the video, just go back and listen again. Check your book and come back. So it actually says use to agree with something positive. If you are saying one sentence, I mean the positive meaning, you should use to. For example, with is. I will just give an example. A hammer is a lever. Okay. So for this sentence, if you want to talk about a different thing, you have to use to in the end of the sentence. But if it is positive, a hammer is a lever, a seesaw is a lever too. So the same sentence, the same meaning, which I'm just adding to to talk about the same thing for the seesaw. A hammer is a lever, yeah, I know this. So a seesaw is a lever too. So there is no difference. They are a kind of same thing. Okay. So use either to agree with something negative. So if you want to talk about the negative thing, I mean the negative sentence, you have to use either instead of to. Okay. So for example, with isn't, I will just give an example. The wedge isn't a new invention. It's not new. It's old. The ramp isn't either. So you are saying that the wedge isn't a new invention. Yes, no problem. But for a different thing, I mean, this time you will use another invention, ramp, and the ramp isn't either. So you are saying the same thing for the ramp like the wedge. So the wedge isn't a invention, yes. So the ramp isn't either. Okay? The ramp is actually old too for the positive meaning. You can use this. Okay. So now we have this part, and you are going to write to or either to finish the sentences. For the positive sentences, you are going to use to. For the negative meaning, you are going to use either. Okay? So let's just read together. I climbed up the stairs. So the sentence is positive. So what's the answer? I did, of course, to. I did to. Number 2, I didn't do well on the test. So it's actually a kind of negative sentence. This time you are going to use what? Of course, I didn't either. And for the last sentence, I love that movie. I like it so much. I love that. So I did, of course, too. Why? Because it's a positive sentence. It's a positive meaning, okay? That's why we are using to here. And this is the difference between to and either. And it was the or grammar part for this unit. So this is the end of the grammar part.